Hey everybody, Sawyer here. I wanted to do a quick little review for 2018's DC meets the Looney Tunes, the graphic novel. It's made by Tom King, and it's really fun. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I love when you take two franchises or two things that really shouldn't go together. They just feel like on paper it sounds like it should never work, and then you make it work. To me, that's the funnest stuff. Those are the funnest crossovers. Like everybody wants to see Marvel versus DC or whatever, but we all know that can easily work. But something like Looney Tunes and DC just doesn't feel like it should work. It just doesn't. But this works. I like this a lot of, and I love the idea of how they take it seriously, but there's small comedic elements and Easter eggs for both, and then some of them are just you get a little bit of you get the best of both worlds with this book because each major story has like a serious kind of version that's done with like very good, modern artwork, and then you get like a very cartoony kind of like classic 60s or 50s style comic right after that. That's essentially the same story. Sometimes in some of the cases the story is a lot different, but it's always the same idea. These two characters meet up and they do something together. And those are like super zany and very Looney Tunes like. The first one is super serious and more DC, and the second one. So you're basically getting two of each team up, which is pretty cool actually. So the first team up is what is the first team up? I done forgot. Um, I'll get to it in a second, but there's a Wonder Woman and Tasmanian Devil team up, which is pretty cool. That one's not my favorite, but the story is it's interesting. They do the Tasmanian Devil as this big savage monster until later you find out he can talk and stuff, and um, that one's okay. It's not my favorite. I like the artwork. The artwork is great in that one. Very detailed, lots of good action. It's got like a little bit of a backstory with Wonder Woman growing up and stuff. That one also doesn't have a whole lot of humor. There's some physical humor with like the Tasmanian Devil just destroying stuff and stuff, but overall there's not a lot of jokes in that one. The, oh, now I remember what the first one was. The book opens up with a Legion of Superheroes team up with Buzz Bunny, and that is just sounds so weird on paper. This was actually probably one of my favorite ones because growing up I was a big Legion of Superheroes fanboy. I really liked that series, so I had a lot of issues of it. So this felt very nostalgic because a lot of it's drawn in a very kind of it's drawn in a modern style, but it's very homage to the original series. Like a lot of the characters like are drawn just like they would have been in the 80s. Like Brainiac's got that kind of classic red jumpsuit One Piece thing going on. Um, but it's a fun story because it's very very self-aware. This is actually probably the funniest of the like DC like modern drawn stories, like the main stories. This one's very self-aware. They got a great there's a great gag there's a couple of reoccurring gags, but one of them is that like they keep having the editor's note, which older comics used to have that, like in the 70s, 80s. You had the editor's note where he helps set up and explain stuff they reference. There's a great running joke about that where the editor's having a hard time keeping up and he just kind of gives up halfway through. He's like, screw it, I'm done. Like I like that. There's another running joke about like all the characters having these thought bubbles where they're having these kind of like eternal monologues and angst. They keep saying it angst, teenage angst, and then everybody's got some serious drama going on. And then you get to Timberwolf, and every time they get to Timberwolf, his thought bubble is literally just he's thinking about what he's gonna eat for dinner. Like he's like, man, I could really go for a steak right now. So that kind of humor was really great for me. Um, so that story's fun. It's basically they basically have to get Buzz Bunny to help them save Supergirl. Long story short, the next story is a Martian Manhunter teams up with Marvin the Martian, which is it, that works great. That was the team up I never thought I needed, and that one is done super serious. Like I mean, there's a few gags here and there, but for the most part, that one's done very serious. The art is probably the most serious of all the artworks. It just feels very like early 2000s, action pack, no nonsense kind of, kind of reminds me of like the early 2000s Martian Manhunter solo book. Kind of has that kind of like art to it. That one's fun though. It's basically Martian Manhunter accidentally, you know, um, he gets a distress signal from Marvin, so he brings Marvin to Earth through that gate thing that I guess Kurt brought him to Earth. But instead of it's not actually a distress signal. It's actually Marvin putting out like a request if anybody needs him to help destroy the Earth. So because he's on a mission to destroy all the multi-Earths throughout the multiverse. So you basically take the classic idea that Marvin the Martian wants to destroy the Earth so he can have a better view. You just amplify that by having the DC multiverse. So that was a really fun story. And then you have one that is essentially probably the best. It's not the best one, but it's probably my favorite one. It's a Jonah Hex teams up with Sam. Oh, it's Yosemite Sam. That one is just ridiculous. But that one probably has some of the best artwork. It's super gritty, super fun. Not like in the comical way, but fun like in just what's going on. I mean, it's a crazy story. So Yosemite Sam essentially he finds a gold mine. He's got all this money now, but now everybody's trying to kill him. And he makes friends with Foghorn Leghorn, who is he's a circus freak that fights in these cage matches, and he travels along with some other circus freaks. And basically, they end up becoming a team with Jonah because they need to hire Jonah to be the bodyguard. It's a really good story. There's a lot of good action in that story, and the art is just great. I was reading this on my Kindle Paperwhite, and I will say that particular story, I think in the last one I'll talk about, really kind of fit the black and white art, the black and white feature of the Kindle the best, actually. They look really good in black and white. Then the next story is going to be it's a Lobo and a Coyote and Runrunner story. That one is probably my least favorite. I've never been a big Lobo fan. He just kind of annoys me the way he's always ridden, so I didn't really care for that one that much. But that one's kind of cool. It's a very interesting reimagining of the way Coyote works. That's a fun story overall. It's got a very convoluted plot, and the plot has a lot of stuff going on. Like I feel like it's too busy for me. There's just too much going on. But eventually, they incorporate the Green Lantern Corps, and it just gets really over the top. And I say over the top in a book about Looney Tunes team up heroes, but whatever. And the last story. Am I missing any? I don't think I'm missing any, but if I am, I am. The last story I want to talk about is the last story in the book, and it's the one that is shown on the cover art. It's Emma Fudd versus Batman, which sounds utterly ridiculous, but the way they do this and the way they execute this story is just great. It's perfect. It's done as a very, very noir style kind of whodunit murder mystery type thing. Essentially, Emma Fudd he's on a revenge kick because the love of his life, this aspiring actress, she was murdered, and so he wants to find out who did it. And apparently, his trail leads him to this like kind of local low life criminal Bugs Bunny essentially, and Bugs Bunny's he's at this like old dive bar called Porky's. Get it, Porky Pig, and he's drowning out his miseries, drinking carrot juice, and it's just a really fun story. Something they really do with this one that's really interesting is they decide to take all the Looney Tunes characters and make them humans. They're just straight up humans. Like Bugs Bunny is a human guy with 2 buck teeth, and he's kind of a weaselly, kind of manipulative dude, little kind of a street level punk. And then you got there's other characters too that pop up in small parts. Like you got Tweety Bird is it's kind of like this little bald headed short little dude. It's like kind of a gangster. It's a fun story. The action in this one is really well done. They actually make Elmer Fudd seem so clever and resourceful, and I love his little inner monologues throughout the story about like hunting and like when he was young, you hunted you ate what you hunted. If it was rabbit season, you ate rabbit. If it was duck season, you ate duck. I love the dialogue in this particular story. It's very well done. It's got a lot of noir style. There's a really good conversation at the bar where Emma Fudd is going to kill Buzz, and they have a really fun conversation. I just really enjoy the dialogue in this one in particular, and the action is very well done, very well drawn. There's a really awesome fight between Batman and Emma Fudd. I never thought I'd say that sentence out loud. Yeah, so overall, if you haven't checked this book out, you should. It's fun. It's great. If you like wacky team ups, if you really like to see your favorite Looney Tunes characters reimagine in the weirdest ways, then go for it. This is the book. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.